Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I have two stories to share with you in this very latest Moon Lambo hot jam. And you know what? The first one, it's a story that's going to make you even more confident that the SEC absolutely will indeed approve multiple XRP ETFs this year, which is fantastic because that materially impacts the supply and demand dynamics for XRP and over a span, in particular, of years and decades. Like the degree to which it will boost the price of XRP, well, the number's unknowable, but it will be absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm telling you, the demand landscape for XRP will be forever changed in a way that will just, like, for those that are in early like us, it can absolutely be life changing. And also, I for the second story, I do have a cautionary tale. If you're thinking about selling your XRP at a massive profit, well, good for you if that happens for you, and I do think we're on the cusp of that type of thing. But if you think you're going to sell your XRP at a massive profit and then just throw it into another cryptocurrency or multiple coins in order to multiply those sweet XRP profits even further, you might want to rethink that. You might want to, and I'll explain why, especially for people in the United States. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, here's the headline. XRP news today. SEC approves NASDAQ index, including XRP, Cardano, Solana, and XLM. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has made a significant move that could accelerate the mainstream acceptance of altcoins by implicitly endorsing the inclusion of 4 major cryptocurrencies. And I already cited them. It's including XRP. And it's into a key institutional benchmark. So this is a benchmark, specifically NASDAQ here. And when you have the SEC doing something like this, it's like a tacit approval of XRP itself. That's how it's going to be viewed. That, even just that, is going to change the degree to which money flows in to these coins, including XRP. Anyway, this development comes through the SEC's approval of the newly reconstituted NASDAQ Crypto Index Settlement Price Index, or NCIUS for short, which now includes these digital assets alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so before this, it was only Bitcoin and Ethereum perched atop, the ones that were treated with a special degree of care and love. No longer. Now we are in something that is much more so resembling a level playing field than what we've ever had. And so if XRP was able to compete as strongly as it did while it was getting attacked by the United States government, while getting trashed by toxic Bitcoin maximalists spewing literal lies about XRP, going through all of that, and still all the utility increased fundamentals only got stronger. If XRP could go through that, now imagine in a playing field where it's actually level, because that's what we're living in now, or something approximating that anyway. And XRP is going to thrive in such an environment because it just works, and it functionally is useful. Piece continues. This change marks a critical milestone in the evolving regulatory landscape of crypto assets, potentially opening the floodgates for altcoin-based exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and broader institutional engagement. The inclusion of these cryptocurrencies in the NCIUS index symbolizes regulatory acceptance, indicating that these tokens meet the SEC's rigorous standards for inclusion in a financial product governed by U.S. securities laws. Well, hey, National, isn't that something, folks? After all these years of all the BS and everything we had to put up with, now here we are on the other side of it, and because of the way the election went in November, the United States is pro-crypto, and that means that XRP is getting treated how it always should have been treated. And it is a glorious sight to behold. The SEC doing good things for XRP. How about that? This, I'm telling you, it's just one added to the pile of reasons that more and more money keeps flowing into XRP, and it has been, including on the institutional side. It's just going to pick up even further now. This is the task. I mean, they're implicitly approving of XRP. And so don't be surprised when they greenlight a bunch of different XRP ETFs later this year. It's coming, folks. Here's what John Deaton had to say. He was sharing somebody else highlighting this news. And John Deaton wrote, "This time 2 years ago, June 2023, the SEC was arguing all XRP are securities, even if acquired independent of Ripple, including if purchased off exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Uphold, etc. And 2 years later," and he points down to the thread highlighting this, what I just shared with you, and 2 years later, "never quit fighting." Damn straight, John Deaton. And he's part of what helped us get here. He's a gigantic part of the reason that lawsuit went the way that XRP holders hoped that it would. Now into the second story. This is from Cointelegraph. Musician made $3 million selling NFTs and lost it all to taxes and a crypto crash. Okay, so this story, honestly, I read through this and I was like, it's wildly interesting just because this is a real life thing that actually happened. But as I go through this, please keep this in mind. And look, I understand, like, so some of you, I mean, because there's listeners all over the world, you may live in a jurisdiction where there are no tax consequences, in which case, okay, bravo, good for you, genuinely. I wish that were the case in the United States where I live, but it's not. And in many areas of the world, it's not the case. And so you're going to need to speak to a tax professional, no doubt, and you might want to do a little bit of planning before you get to the part where you're actually selling. But let me warn you of one potential huge boo-boo that you could make, because if you get life-changing wealth from XRP and then you take those profits and you put it in something else, if that doesn't go the way you think and hope it will, you could be wrecking yourself financially to the point where you may end up declaring bankruptcy. Like, I kid you not. That's not hyperbole. Like, seriously? Seriously take this seriously. That's my message. So this story I'm about to share with you, it's interesting in and of itself, but what this guy did in selling his NFTs and moving the profits around, this could happen to anybody, including people in the XRP community. And given that we're at this point where at least I firmly believe so many people are going to achieve life-changing wealth, because I think there's going to be a massive blow-off top for XRP this market cycle, so almost certainly this year. If that does come to pass, like, I'm worried. I'm worried that some people are going to take those profits and gamble them further, and if it doesn't go right, you are in big trouble with the IRS if you're in the United States. Anyway, so piece reads as follows. Non-fungible token artist Jonathan Mann, the musician behind the Song a Day project, has turned his crypto tax ordeal into a cautionary musical tale. In a new track shared on X, Mann recounted how he made $3 million selling his entire back catalog as NFTs, only to see it vanish as the market crashed during the Terra ecosystem collapse. "This is the story of how I made $3 million and lost it," Mann sings, "and how I owed the IRS more money than I made in 10 previous years." That's the quote. And so, and I was familiar with this guy already. I've seen some of his work. Some of us went viral in crypto because not that he exclusively writes songs about crypto, but he literally writes one song a day. He slaps something together. Some of them better than others, of course. But there have been some where it's about crypto specifically, and there's one about Gary Gensler that comes to mind. And they're funny, and some of them went viral in crypto. So some of you will be aware of who this guy is here. But obviously, with him being in crypto, like, he ended up having some serious investments, and it was going pretty well for a while until suddenly it wasn't, as you'll see here. He had the life-changing wealth and squandered the opportunity. It's just, sometimes it's just like, for some people it's greed. Like, you gotta, like, just my humble opinion, you guys do whatever you want. Like, if you have life-changing wealth at hand, it might make sense to just secure it. It really might. And then, but people, you have this little thing in the back of your head, it's the greed bug, and tells you, but what if it goes 10x? What if it goes, well then it goes 10x. But what if it goes to 0? You know, like, what if, not that it would necessarily go to 0, but what if you're at the point in the cycle where it is about to crater and it goes down 80%? What about that? Like, you can't sell the top. Nobody can do it. It's an unrealistic target. So how about maybe the real target should be, if it's life-changing and you could never find out what happens in the market after that, is that the right number for you? Is that a good number where it's life-changing and you'd like it? If you could never find out where you sold relative to the top. Whether you sold close to the top or it went way higher, if you could never know, would you just be happy in a vacuum? Maybe that's the right mindset to get into. That's where I'm coming from, personally, for myself. Anyway, story continues. Man said it all began on January 1st, 2022, when he sold 3,700 songs at $800 each, netting him roughly $3 million, all in Ether. Excited but unprepared, Man and his wife decided to hold onto the crypto, hoping Ethereum prices would increase. We didn't have a plan, Man admitted in the song. Things took a turn when Ethereum's value declined in January 2022, and the couple was unsure about how much to sell or when. To add to their woes, the U.S. Internal Revenue Service, IRS, came knocking at their door. As Man explained in the song, his earnings from selling NFTs are taxed as income. This means that the tax is based on the value of the ETH when received, regardless of whether the crypto asset later crashes in value. Because of this, even though their $3 million in ETH went down in price, their tax bill remained the same. To avoid selling their crypto at a loss, Man said they took out a loan through the lending protocol Aave, using some of the ETH as collateral, but disaster struck as the market started to crash, driven by the Terra collapse. The incident triggered a cascade of liquidations across the ecosystem, which included Man's loan. In a flash, 300 ETH disappeared. A lifetime of work erased in a moment, he lamented. And so, folks, think about this. So, if you profit wildly from XRP, you're going to have a tax burden if you're in the United States. And, hopefully you've held it over a year so that it's at least long-term capital gains tax rate, so that would help. But you're going to owe something anyway. And if you put that in something else and it goes down like 80% or more than that, like I'm just saying, if you make a boo-boo and you lose your profits, the government doesn't care. You still owe the government for those profits for XRP, even if you lose it somewhere else. You see the problem here? So one reason this won't happen to me is I'm very strict with myself. Once I sell something at a profit, I will not be reinvesting. I don't care. I mean, if there's an opportunity, I miss opportunities to like 10x the already wild profits. I just don't give a damn. I'm not putting myself in that position. Once I get profit, it is out for the remainder of the cycle. And if any of those profits ever go directly back into crypto, it'll be after we're clearly in a bear market and the market's tanked like 70, 80, 90%. And then maybe I'll take a small percentage, like 5, 10%, and plop it back in. Other than that, the only money that is of mine that's going to be in crypto is new money that I earn. New money that I earn, I'll put that in crypto. Absolutely. But, as far as profits from a bull run, absolutely freaking not. I'm going to safeguard myself. There are too many ways to screw this up. And so that's what this guy found, the position he found himself in. It's just, he had profit until he didn't, He didn't secure it. And he stole the tax bill. So anyway, Peace continues here. He says, scrambling to find a way out, Man spent months combing through transactions with his accountant to determine how much they owed. They found out it was $1,095,171.79. Whew, that's a bad day. With the threat of potential liens on their home and risks of losing his wife's retirement account, Man turned to one last option, selling a rare autoglyph NFT he purchased back in crypto's early days. The musician said he attempted to sell the NFT through X, but did not get a good reception. However, he found a broker with a client who offered $1.1 million for the NFT. Man said that he accepted the deal to pay for the IRS taxes. So he actually lucked out in this particular story. But still, what a messy route to go. Anyway, because of the losses incurred in the Aave loan, Man did not owe capital gains taxes on the autoglyph sale. It felt so bittersweet to be done, he sings at the end. Despite the ordeal, Man continues writing daily songs and selling them as NFTs, still hopeful he'll one day earn another $3 million. Okay, so cautionary tale, folks. And I don't know all the tax implications and when you bought, how long you've held. There's so many considerations, and it depends on your specific circumstances. So you do need to talk to an actual accountant. I'm just trying to warn you, like, this is the type of thing that's worth bringing up to whoever your tax professional is in your life. And just keep it in mind, you're going to have a tax bill in certain jurisdictions, certainly in the United States, if you sell at a profit, you sell and you achieve a profit. And if you no longer have the means to pay for it, you still owe it. So just be careful. Don't squander your profits, okay? I'm just saying. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.